And now, Good Mike Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy Saturday, everyone. What is going on? Happy December. Holy crap, the holidays are here. Welcome to your Winged Eagle Podcast for December 2nd, 2023. I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. We loaded today. This is a loaded one. It's going to be really wrestling news heavy, a lot of Punk discussion, a lot of everything discussion. So much to get into today. I'm kind of excited about it, to be honest with you. There's lots to get into. We're going to talk about Dynamite, Smackdown. We're going to look ahead to tonight's Collision. We're going to look ahead to Monday's Raw. We're going to preview and speculate on WWE's plans for the Royal Rumble, for WrestleMania, what CM Punk is going to do, what Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to do, all sorts of storyline directional stuff from AEW and WWE. We'll be getting into a lot of that, and we're going to be getting into a lot of wrestling news, like the reaction to CM Punk's return to the WWE 1 week ago. We sat right here last Saturday, watched that shit together at Survivor Series. We've had a week to process this now. So have a lot of wrestlers in both companies, and we'll talk about what the reaction appears to be out there in the wrestling universe regarding CM Punk's return and what he might do not only for the rest of this year at the Royal Rumble, but also WrestleMania with a big possible opponent for CM Punk at WrestleMania. Also, some news this week coming out about his termination from AEW and Brian Danielson being a part of the disciplinary committee that helped make the decision to terminate CM Punk. So a lot of news to get into about that. We'll discuss all of that. We're going to talk about a lot of AEW stuff, specifically with MJF, the Masked Men, and if there is any more backstage issues in AEW, maybe some heat on MJF based on some liked tweets from Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, Britt Baker, even doubling down on one of her tweets, not only liking something, but tweeting something kind of, I wouldn't say cryptic, but pretty straightforward that there is some frustration there, but not sure if these are actual more issues and more turmoil within AEW, or if this is just AEW talent leaving clues for the masked assailants and devil storyline. So lots to talk about there. All In tickets went on sale yesterday. They sold a shitload right off the bat. So we'll talk about All In for next year. WWE close to apparently landing a new TV rights deal for Monday Night Raw. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about QT Marshall leaving AEW. We're going to talk about Tammy Sitch being sentenced to prison. And then we'll talk about Dynamite on Wednesday, the Continental Classic, how good Swerve is looking, Samoa Joe, MJF, and probably my favorite segment of the week easily between Christian and Adam Copeland. Really starting to get invested in that now. I feel like Adam Copeland is just he's starting to get comfortable now. It felt a little off, I ain't gonna lie, when he first got there. I loved his debut in AEW. That was amazing, marked out for that. Everything after that has been, I don't know, maybe not as exciting or intriguing as I was hoping it would be, but now that him and Christian are kind of settling into this, I'm loving it. And I loved the segment between the two on Wednesday. Another segment on Wednesday that I did not like was involving Ric Flair and a really gross promo that he cut last night on Rampage that I believe was edited, thank God. And last night's Smackdown was also very interesting, with Kevin Owens potentially setting up something with Logan Paul and Randy Orton officially now signing with the Smackdown brand, which felt obvious to me because with Punk and Orton coming back on the same night, one's got to go to one show and one's got to go to the other. And based on how Seth Rollins was reacting after Survivor Series last week, it felt like Punk and Rollins is probably the direction they're going to go. So Punk landing on Raw, Orton landing on SmackDown makes a lot of sense to me, and we'll talk about what that now means for Roman Reigns' future. Even last night on SmackDown, Paul Heyman and Nick Aldis' office, I think, mentioned something to the effect of trade the bloodline or whatever. That might be just a small clue that now with SmackDown leaving Fox, no reason to keep them happy anymore. They've got their new deal set up for next year with the CW, right? Is that where it's going? And they might not need the bloodline on SmackDown anymore. Maybe the process has begun to get the bloodline over to Raw sometime in 2024. I would be open to that. Get Roman and that act over there. Jay is there. So is Sammy. So is a lot of people. We could see some mixing and matching, and that could be a way to get Cody to WrestleMania. We've talked about Cody And how he's going to get to WrestleMania to face Roman. Winning the Royal Rumble again would be weird, especially when he won last year at number 30. And if he wins again, I don't know, but he could win the Elimination Chamber and challenge Roman. But I've said from the start that the winner of the Rumble should always challenge for Roman's title because that's the more prestigious title in my mind right now. And if I'm winning the Rumble, that's the more statement-making, career-defining victory is against Roman Reigns, more so than Seth Rollins. So I can't see a scenario where the Royal Rumble winner doesn't challenge Roman Reigns, but maybe Roman comes to Cody. So that could happen too. We got lots of speculation. You know, it's written right above my head there. Juicy speculation. That's all we do here. And we flap our gums about wrestling news. So that's kind of on the menu for today. And anything else you guys want to get into in the chat, you can let me know. Let's do some shout outs and say hello. And then we'll start getting into some wrestling news. And I'm also going to let you guys know what to expect from us this week. Let's do that right now, by the way, because tomorrow we have a really fun classic pay-per-view watch-along planned. WWE Survivor Series 2003. Thought we would knock out one more Survivor Series since we were only able to do 2 all throughout the month of November. We'll do one more here, and I thought Survivor Series 03 would make a good one. I thought about 91 for Hogan and Taker, but the rest of the card is kind of shit. 2003's got all sorts of stuff going on, so tomorrow will be a fun show. A review of Survivor Series 2003 does exist on my channel. I think it's about 4 years old now. I did it a long time ago back at my old apartment, so that is on the channel, but we've never watched it before. Ambulance match, Kane, Shane, I think Goldberg, Triple H is on there, Vince, Taker, the big Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels Survivor Series match where Shawn was all bloody. All that's going on. Should be a fun watch along tomorrow. So join us 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific right here on the Good Mic Work channel. By the way, I also want to thank everybody for helping us reach 40,000 subscribers this week. We got there over Survivor Series weekend, took in a couple of hundred more subs on that weekend alone, which was cool. So we have made it to 40,000. Next stop, 50,000. So make sure you subscribe, smash that thumbs up button, and I appreciate all of your support for all these many years. Thank you to everyone who also supports on Patreon. A lot of reactions are hitting the Patreon page right now. And thank you to all of the channel members. For anyone who has been a channel member for 6 months or more, or is it 12 months or more? I forgot who I've got. I've got you scrolling across the ticker there. Thank you again, guys, for everything. Saturday night's main event watch-alongs continued this week. We did one on Thursday. So if you're a member, you can catch back up with those. We have knocked out 7 episodes now. We got like 30 to do. So we'll pick back up with that next week. Just haven't found a day for that yet. So keep all of that in mind. That's what you can expect from me this week. And most likely I'll be up here Monday night as well after Raw for a review. I see no reason to skip that because I think we're going to have Punk on that show. Hopefully he will begin the process of whatever program he's going to be doing. We feel like it's probably going to be Seth Rollins for the Royal Rumble. I'm hoping. I don't want to see Rollins and Punk push to Mania. I think you do that match at the Royal Rumble where Rollins beats him and then maybe Rollins loses the title in a cash-in situation after he beats CM Punk in that title defense. That's kind of the way I would do it. But I feel like Punk on Raw this Monday, hopefully we get some one-on-one face-off or confrontation with Punk on Raw, because last week on Raw, even though I was marking out at the visual at the sight of Punk in a WWE ring again for the first time in a decade, a lot of people were disappointed with his promo, calling him PG Punk. He didn't say a whole lot, which I tweeted about 30 minutes before he even came out. I said, I think this is going to be a I'm back promo with nothing too crazy happening. And they'll save that for one more week. Since Rumble is 2 months away, they got all the time in the world to build for whatever issue they're going to build to here. And then we find out later that Triple H wasn't even at Monday Night Raw. So it was like Triple H signs CM Punk, throws him in the locker room. Enjoy Punk in the locker room. See you later. I'll be back next week. Have a good one. And then just bounces out and put Bruce Pritchard in charge of the show. Eesh. So hopefully this Monday will be much more exciting than last Monday was, even though it was a very highly anticipated Raw. A Raw that I haven't looked forward to a Raw that much in decades. And the fact that we were kind of let down was a little bit of a bummer. Hopefully WWE will bounce back this week. So we'll be here to talk about it on Monday as well. 3 straight days of good mic work. I hope you can handle it. You just got to relax your throat and make eye contact. That's what it's all about. So deep breaths, y'all. It's going to be a big, big 3 days. Now we can hit the chat. We're going to hit the chat as you guys are hitting that thumbs up button. Just keep clear. Just go like that as I'm reading the shout outs. And I want to knock out all of the super chats that are in here. And then we are going to get into the wrestling news, and we are going to start things off with CM Punk his return to WWE, and the reaction that he's been getting so far, specifically from Kevin Owens. Then we'll get into the Danielson stuff. So just stay tuned for a minute as I say hi to my friends. Let's see here where to begin. Well, I'm going to kind of hit channel members, friends, and super chats. Actually, you guys are all my friends, so I'll just try to hit everybody. Jay Lambo, what up? We have George Morris, who's always here, chiming in with the token 5. He's the best. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? How is Tito? Sonny sentenced to 18 years in prison, 8 years probation, and driver's license revoked. What do you think? We're going to get into that, George. As a matter of fact, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 topics down. So she's at the very end of my news. We are going to be getting into Sonny, and you will hear everything I have to say about that, George. Thanks again, and I'm sure I will be seeing you tomorrow night for the watch-along. And let me guess, Survivor Series 2003, 10 out of 10? Come on, 10 out of 10, right? Maybe. George, we love you. Max Pokebra in the house. So is Red Raven Rucker. We got Jamie Repman in the house. Yes, we are going to be talking about Tammy Sitch, another friend, A-Dog, Amato Gonzalez. What's up, Greg? Last out of OT. Damn, 50 hours this week. That's gnarly. I'm here. Hope you got my message about the 12/29/03 Raw. Let's set it up. That's what that message was about. I've got a whole bunch of Twitter DMs. I know you're one of them. Okay, that's right. We're going to be doing that watch along next month. We need to set that up. I'll listen to that. We'll get all that figured out, and I'll try to stick up a link. Even if we can't do it on the actual day, I probably still can. This might have to be an early afternoon thing. We'll figure it out either way. That should be a fun Raw to do, and we're going to do that for members only. I think that would be the best way to handle that one. Rodrigo, Jonelle, David as well. We got JL, William Cullen, D, the original Tatanani channel member in the house. We got Big J, my boy Ronnie, another channel member. Ronnie, good friend of mine, recovering from COVID. Buddy, get well soon. Hope you're feeling better. COVID sucks, and I know you're going through it. Wishing you all the best. We got Sonic Plays. We got JL. We have David Brown and Denny Downbad. What's up, guys? And I want to say hello to another friend, Tomas Oridia, who is here with 2 supers back-to-back. Been a guest with Tomas on his channel with Zach a couple of times. Thanks for the $9.99. Tomas says, you know my feelings about Punk. I'm not thrilled he's back. I can only pray Triple H can book him young, because if he beats Rollins at Mania for the title, that's not fair to the rest of the roster. I'm not too worried about that. I'm not worried about CM Punk coming in and taking away from everybody else. Granted, there's going to be a WrestleMania spot there that's now going to go to him that would have gone to someone else. That's something that I've mentioned for months regarding Punk in WWE. I've even pitched the idea of Punk coming in the Mania or the Raw after Mania instead. Just get through Mania season, give that to your talent that's been working there full-time. After Mania, debut Punk, and you can do something with him then. But they brought him in now. I'm not too concerned with Punk taking away and winning a big title at WrestleMania. Punk might main event night 1 if he faces Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I personally believe, and I could be wrong, but I personally believe CM Punk is going to be on his best behavior to the same level that Hogan was in 2002. I think Punk, much like Hogan, much like Brock, is going to lose their first match back. That's what I feel like is going to happen there. So I feel like Punk getting in the ring with Rollins and eating a clean loss to Rollins is the way to go. That's what I would do. So I'm not too concerned about Punk in that regard. I think anything WWE does with Punk is going to be manageable, and it's not going to do anything that's going to create a rift in your locker room. But Punk getting a Mania match, probably not avoiding that. But I just don't see him making it all the way to Mania to face Rollins. The only way I see a Punk and Rollins match at Mania is if it's not for the title. Like if Punk costs Rollins the belt ahead of time. Because don't forget, Damian Priest is running around with that briefcase. So I feel like CM Punk playing a role in Rollins losing the title to Priest could set up maybe a Hell in a Cell match at Mania between Punk and Rollins, maybe on the undercard of night 2. No title on the line. The same spot that Balor and Edge was in last year. I wouldn't see anything wrong with that either. But Rollins having the title, how to factor that in, there's lots of ways to do it. There is. And Tomas has got 5 more. Still the most overreacted wrestler on the overreacted or overrated? Overreacted. I don't think people are overreacting to him. They're cheering him. They fucking go nuts for him. I talked about that last week. CM Punk has got some sort of like intangible that's hard to describe. You know, Brett kind of had a special connection with his fans, but in a completely different way than CM Punk. You know, the crowd just goes ballistic for this guy. And that's why he's back in WWE. If Punk did not have that level of popularity and his name wasn't trending every fucking day, even if he's not in the business for 8 years, then I don't think WWE would even give a shit about bringing him in. But they know the eyeballs, the spotlight, the headlines that's going to bring in. It's just business. And that's how I'm trying to look at it now, Tomas. I think if I was sitting here without a YouTube channel and just a fan, I might have a lot more opinions about CM Punk. But as a YouTuber, as someone who is enjoyed just watching all forms of wrestling and talking about it, the more exciting shit happening, the better, even if it's controversial. And, you know, Punk being back in WWE sure as hell gives us a lot to talk about. You know what I mean? So Greg ain't complaining about Punk being back. Good to see Cash Sneakers up in here as well. D, the original, I think I got you. Jay Boba, thank you very much for your 5. Hey, Greg, I told you were getting Punk versus Austin. Bold prediction 2024. Rollins walks out of WWE due to not getting the main event once again. Oh, Rollins. Is Rollins... Oh, okay. I thought you said Rollins walking out of WWE again. No, Rollins walking out of WWE due to not getting the main event once again. That's not going to happen. Rollins is not going to walk out. You can be frustrated about not getting a WrestleMania main event, but sabotaging your entire career over it, getting that mad. I think Rollins, even though I'm sure there's still some professional goals he has, is not disappointed with the career that he's had. He's done very well for himself. Rollins has very little to complain about with or without a WrestleMania main event. But yeah, you were the one that mentioned, I think we mentioned the possibility of Punk versus Austin as early as Survivor Series night. During the review, I think somebody brought it up. And then I know on Monday night, it was you that mentioned Punk versus Austin. And we're going to talk about Punk and Austin in a minute. Now, Fightful Select posted an article report this week about internally that match has been discussed. And that's what we talked about all the way back on Monday, that it is mind-blowing to me and very surreal that Punk and Austin can even be talked about. That the fact that there's even an outside chance that it could happen is mind-blowing, because I thought that was one I had long given up on. I just didn't think there was any way. I thought they were almost too late for it in 2013 when they were teasing it. Now we're 10 years later, almost 11 years later, and it's possible. That is still hard for me to process. So we're going to talk about that, but I think what this comes down to, it's all going to be up to Austin. It's all on him. He's going to be, I'm sure Punk and WWE are totally on board with this. It's going to be Austin's decision and Austin's decision only in my mind. So it just depends on Steve. We'll see. Ben Espinoza, Rodrigo as well. Good to see you guys. Also, we have Chris Ludek. Appreciate the $10 from you. Good to see you, man. Hope all is well. I'm thinking Punk opens Raw and we get a little more in-depth promo. Yes, I agree. Punk mentioning a wise man also indirectly hinted at a feud with Roman Reigns down the line. Yes, it did. Not only is Punk going to be feuding with Rollins, he could have a WrestleMania match with Austin, and he could face Roman Reigns. And I think Punk versus Reigns would be perfect for after WrestleMania, because I've been wondering, okay, hypothetically, Cody goes to WrestleMania, finishes the story, beats Roman Reigns. That means we're probably going to get a rematch at Crown Jewel, or, you know, a match at SummerSlam again, or something like that. And it's going to be hard for Cody to shake off Roman completely. But if you can find a worthy enough opponent for Roman to kind of keep him busy, because Punk and Roman Reigns, I wouldn't care if a title was on the line, but it doesn't need one. Because I saw a lot of that around, oh, it doesn't need the title. I'm like, no, it doesn't. But if there was a title involved, it's not bad. So don't freak out over that. But Punk and Roman would work just fine with no championship on the line. And that would be an awesome match to do. Remember back in 2013, SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar and CM Punk, arguably the best WWE match either of those guys have ever had was against each other at SummerSlam 2013. No title was on the line for that. You do the same thing this SummerSlam, but with Roman and CM Punk. Roman, Punk, wise man in the middle. Maybe Heyman dumps Roman Reigns for CM Punk. That leads to a Roman Reigns babyface turn. That could happen. There's lots you could do there, and I am definitely all on board with Punk and Roman Reigns, but I'm not on board with that until after WrestleMania. Punk and Roman Reigns is not something I need for WrestleMania. That's Roman and Cody. That needs to be them. Punk can do a lot of other things at Rumble leading to Mania, but I think after Mania would be a good time to do Punk versus Roman Reigns. So we will see, Chris, but I'm kind of there with you. The Juliet and Isaac in the house, more channel members. Good to see you guys, as well as Zach right on. Zach's here too. I think I got all of the Super dupers. That's good. Now we can start talking about stuff. Yeah, David, that sit down that Austin and Punk did years ago with JR in the middle, I think that was a promotion for the WWE video game where they were dropping more hints, because I think the first hints came up in like 2011, and then there was a couple years later they did the sit down thing, and you felt like it could happen, but for whatever reason, it fell through and we never got it. And the fact that Austin wrestled at WrestleMania 38 little under 2 years ago makes the whole thing kind of possible. It's not like Undertaker and Sting where we've kind of lost that one. You know, this could actually happen, and it's pretty damn crazy and surreal. But anyway, shout outs are done. Let you guys know what to expect on the channel this week. I already got that done. Super chats are done. Let's start talking about wrestling news as you guys continue to hit that thumbs up button. Please smash the thumbie. I would appreciate it. We have to talk about CM Punk. It's already what we've talked about a little bit in the chat already. As we all know, 1 week ago today, CM Punk returned to WWE at the very end of Survivor Series. We watched that live. My live reaction has been uploaded to YouTube on a short and on a regular video, because the whole time I'm watching Survivor Series, I'm not thinking Punk's coming out. We get to the end. I keep waiting for something to happen. I'm looking at the little copyright watermark and all of that, and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen. But the thing that I'm waiting to happen isn't what I think is going to happen. What I'm waiting for is a Damian Priest cash-in. I felt like that was going to be it. And then instead of the cash-in, we get CM Punk coming out. I lost my mind, lived up to my word, man of my word in the predictions. I said, look, I don't think he's coming, but if he shows up, I will be the first one marking out. And I did. I marked out hard. So Punk came back, shocked the universe. And then on Monday night, they really teased us and blue-balled us there, man. I really think it was a misstep. They should have had CM Punk open the show. I think he was the one. I'm okay with Randy opening the show, because you have to remember Randy came back as well. But if Randy was going to open, then I might have put Punk in the middle of the card. Punk closing the show with a promo just screamed to me that we weren't going to get anything special. It would have been much better to do some face-to-face confrontation in the opening segment, you know, Punk and Rollins. So I never really thought that Punk was going to come out and like hit the ground running. I thought it was going to be just a way for him to be on TV, be on Raw with the new merch, say I'm back, maybe acknowledge his 10-year absence, and, you know, maybe there's some things that have to be said first before he jumps into a feud. All of that felt very logical to me. I was in no rush to see CM Punk do anything, because the Royal Rumble is 2 months away. We have like 9 weeks of build until we get to the Royal Rumble. Nothing needed to happen on Monday night. But I feel like people were expecting something too. So when Punk just came out and said what he said, a lot of fans were let down by that. But I really wasn't, because you have to understand, Punk coming back at Survivor Series was as if we haven't had enough headlines of the century already just in the last couple of years. It's just been one major shocker after another. This is still a big one. I still feel like this one almost eclipses, you know, Punk coming back originally and Cody Rhodes jumping and things like that, and Vince McMahon. I mean, this is right up there with like, holy shit. I think Vince McMahon stepping down and WWE selling are obviously going to be the biggest stories, but in terms of talent jumping, you know, this one and Cody are the kind of the two big ones here. And this one was so jarring and shocking because of how it happened at All In. You know, I said last week, if Jungle Boy doesn't smack that glass and look in the camera and say, cry me a river, Punk's wrestling on Collision tonight. So it's crazy how the universe changes. It's crazy how one thing can set a domino effect that will completely change the landscape of something. And that's what happened here. So I think the fans weren't even really over that initial shock yet. I wasn't. I was still processing the fact that Punk is back. Even just last night, not 12 hours ago, I tweeted a very simple sentence. I can't believe CM Punk is back in WWE. A full week after he's been back, I just thought about that last night. I'm like, I cannot believe he's back in this company. It's got to feel crazy to him. It's got to feel crazy to WWE to have him there, considering how quickly everything came. It's not like Punk has been out of the business for 10 years and he's now gotten the itch again. You know, he came back to another company, it imploded, and that sent him back to WWE when he probably thought he would never work there again. That's crazy. It would be like going back when like getting a divorce and then remarrying and then waking up one day and you're back with that ex-wife. You're like, how the fuck did I get here? Do I even want to be here? You know, like, oh my God. So I just think that it's surreal enough for us. It's got to be even crazier for him. So my thought on Punk's promo on Monday was that we haven't even come down off of that high yet. We're still like in La La Land just from the shock of Punk returning. So if they would have just kept it going, yeah, that would have been exciting, but it almost would have been too much. Just little small doses. He's back now. Okay, give us a week to process it. Now on Monday, he can come out and start something. I thought he was going to be on SmackDown last night. I even said as much on Monday. I said he might turn up on SmackDown and do a fun little babyface promo with LA Knight and the two of them beat up Pretty Deadly or something. One of those segments that you see, where he just comes out, WWE can get him on SmackDown, get that visual of him on the SmackDown brand before they determine what brand he's going to be on, because they have not established that yet. So we don't even know what brand he's going to be on. So how can he really start a feud with somebody before they establish that? So I feel like that's going to be the first thing. And now that Randy Orton signed with SmackDown on Friday, I feel like Punk is going to have to sign with Raw. But now that he's advertised for SmackDown next week, I feel like that's going to delay it one more week. So Monday night, we're either going to see CM Punk come out and perhaps start something with Seth Rollins. Hopefully he does. Or we're going to see CM Punk in the ring with Adam Pearce. And Pearce is going to be pretty desperate to sign him since he lost Randy Orton. And then Punk could say something like, I appreciated Adam, but I'm going to go see what Nick Aldis has to say on SmackDown. He's going to test the waters, play the free agency game and test the market to what his value is, in kayfabe. And he'll probably go to SmackDown next Friday, hear Nick Aldis's pitch, and then probably on the following Monday commit officially to Monday Night Raw. And then we're off to the races for Punk and Seth at the Rumble. That's my guess on the whole thing. So on Monday, that should be pretty interesting to see how CM Punk responds to Pierce and all of that. And hopefully there is some sort of a confrontation with another wrestler on Monday night and they don't drag this out too slowly. Now, what's interesting too, we'll talk about it later, but Punk going over to SmackDown 1 week after they ran an injury angle for Kevin Owens. I was critical of AEW for feeling the need to separate their roster because people don't get along. I don't really want to see WWE doing this, but we'll talk about that more in just a second. CM Punk versus, well, no, I guess I don't want to get to Stone Cold yet. I want to talk more about some of the reactions to Punk in WWE. Now, we saw a lot of reactions on Twitter from wrestlers from both companies about Punk's return. A lot of people wishing him well. A lot of people going out of their way to say, I never really had a problem with CM Punk, or I wish him the best, or whatever. People are kind of adding their 2 cents. One of the more interesting names on this was Kevin Owens. Now, our good friend and channel member, James H. Williams, did an interview with Kevin Owens on his YouTube channel just the other day, or I saw it on his YouTube channel. I think it's across all of James's platforms. And he asked Kevin Owens about CM Punk being back in WWE. And I had a quote here, and I seem to have lost it. I'm scrolling through to see where I put this. I somehow have buried it. I'm sorry. Just pardon me as I do some scrolling. You know how it is. Anyway, I can't find it. But anyway, James asks Kevin Owens about how he feels about CM Punk being back in WWE. And Owens basically he hinted that there's problems, because the way he responded was basically him saying, look, I just want to have fun at work. That's all. I just want to have fun at work. He didn't really lead on too much one way or the other, but we do know that Owens is somebody that has a history with Punk and some heat with CM Punk. And I think this dates back to the old Ring of Honor days. And there's an old shoot interview, I think it's an RF shoot interview with Kevin Steen at the time, where he talked about CM Punk and some incident that took place between the two of them, where CM Punk was giving Kevin Owens shit for wrestling in a t-shirt, which Kevin Owens has been doing his whole career. I mean, I think he's wearing a singlet a couple times and tried it, ultimately felt more comfortable with the t-shirt. Punk, probably walking around, cocky and condescending. Everybody goes through that period in their life where they think they know everything, and gave Kevin Owens shit. Oh, what kind of wrestler wears a t-shirt? Especially at a time where lots of guys were wrestling t-shirts, even guys who didn't have, quote unquote, bad bodies, like Justin Credible, who looked just fine, wrestled in a shirt. Lots of guys wrestled in a shirt. You think about somebody who like Mick Foley and others. Mick Foley's probably the best example of someone who's not a body guy, but is still an excellent in-ring storyteller, a great professional wrestler, beloved, respected, talent loves working with him, gives it his everything, lays it all out on the line. Who fucking cares what he's wearing? And the way Owens tells the story, it's just, it makes Punk come off like a douchebag. And when you are further along in your career than someone else, giving advice is fine and is welcomed. Giving condescending advice, I don't like. I've never appreciated that when I'm being taught or trained. I don't like being talked to like I'm inferior and I don't get it. I'm the same job as you. You've just been doing a couple more years than me. That's all. Give me advice, but don't be a dick. I mean, are you my teacher? Are you my trainer? Are you my boss? No. Then talk to me like a man, not like I'm a piece of fucking shit. And I hate that quality in people. So I can understand, Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen at the time's frustration with that type of attitude of somebody looking down on you who doesn't really know you or your ability or what you can do. And Kevin Owens has proved that he is an excellent pro wrestler. He's an excellent talker. Kevin Owens really is the complete package. I think Kevin Owens in the ring is every bit as good as CM Punk. As a matter of fact, I put up a Twitter poll today. Let's see what it says. I just asked because I got thinking about these two. And I'm like, you know what? I wonder who fans think is the better wrestler. And you can gauge this however you want. Prime CM Punk, prime Owens, current CM Punk, current Owens, however you want to gauge this, feel free. And I simply asked, who is a better wrestler, CM Punk or Kevin Owens? And in my mind, I felt like it would probably be pretty close. We're probably 50-50 there because, when you look at, what each guy has accomplished, Punk has probably done a little bit more. He's had bigger WrestleMania matches. Maybe Owens has worked with Steve Austin, but Punk has worked with Undertaker, and some other guys. So they might be equal in the WrestleMania department because Owens has actually main evented where CM Punk is not. Championships, again, Punk probably has a few more than Kevin Owens. Plus, he had that long run as WWE champion back in the day. Owens has only still had the one Universal run and nothing else. So you could look at success, you could look at money, who's better in the ring, who's better on the mic, who has the better overall package, who's had the better overall career. However you want to measure it, who do you think is better, CM Punk or Kevin Owens? The Twitter poll is 56% Kevin Owens, 44% CM Punk with a little under 200 votes. That's a small sample size, but it's still pretty 50-50 there. So Kevin Owens, I feel like, is one of along with Sami Zayn, is just someone that I really, really respect in the wrestling business. I like how he carries himself. I like what he stands for. I like how likable he is. He seems to be respected, beloved by his peers, lots of friends in the business. He just really seems to be a well-liked person. You've never heard anything about Kevin Owens that would even be close to as controversial or bad as CM Punk in terms of the way how people react to his behavior. Everybody loves Kevin Owens. CM Punk doesn't have that same reputation. So I'm inclined to kind of be on Owens' side in that. I'm hoping, though, that as time goes by, because that was many, many years ago, if CM Punk and Kevin Owens see each other, I certainly hope that CM Punk doesn't still feel that way. You know what I mean? Especially after he was in, AEW having feuds with Eddie Kingston and shit. You want to talk about guys with bodies. So if I would assume, this is without me knowing a damn thing about the situation, but I would hope that at 45 years old, which is what CM Punk is, he thinks back to times like that and how he acted. And he goes, I was kind of a dick. If I see Kevin Owens, I need to apologize to him for that. That's what I would hope would happen, because what is Punk's justification if he doesn't do that? If he doesn't apologize to him, does that mean he still feels the way he felt all those years ago when he was young and even a bigger prick than he is now? He still feels that way? I doubt it. So hopefully those feelings have blown over. But when you see Kevin Owens get injured last night on Smackdown, And it's a kayfabe injury. WWE announced today that he fractured something, and I guess the recovery time on that is 6 to 8. He's not going to be out that long. It's a kayfabe injury. You could tell in the match, at least I think it was, it's a kayfabe injury. But that's interesting that he'll probably be off TV now next week when CM Punk makes an appearance on Smackdown. Probably his only one, to hear Nick Aldis's pitch and then ultimately go to Raw, which means Kevin Owens won't have to deal with him. Is that what we want to do? Do we want to run away from our problems here? You know, if I'm Triple H, I'm going to go around to my locker room before I even sign CM Punk and figure out who's got heat with him and can this heat be overcome? Is this going to be a problem for us? You know, and if I'm aware of something that happened in the past between Owens and Punk, Owens is a trusted member of my roster. I'm going up to Owens and say, hey, I'm going to sign CM Punk. You got any issues with him or is anything I need to know about? And Owen's like, yeah, he was fucking dick to me at Ring of Honor, made fun of me for wearing a shirt. I fucking hate him. All right, man. Well, then when he gets here, just squash it. You know, so I'm hoping that things like that, long-standing instances of heat, bad feelings, I would hope just at this point in your life, Kevin Owens is 39, CM Punk is 45. Do we need to be doing this at this stage of our lives and careers? You know, or does Owens just not want to? Owens might be very anti-negativity, and I don't blame anybody for that. So Owens might be taking the stance that I would just rather not be around it. Kind of like Hangman Page. If you notice in AEW, it felt like Hangman Page did the same thing. He stayed largely away from that whole situation, even though his name was constantly being brought up in internet reports. And during the entire CM Punk AEW saga, we heard a lot about Hangman Page, a lot of blame being pointed on him. That dude didn't say shit for 18 months about the situation. Didn't say a word, still hasn't. You know, so maybe, and he just wants to remove himself from the negativity or the toxicity or whatever you want to call it. Maybe that's what Kevin Owens is doing. Maybe Kevin Owens told Triple H, look, I just don't like him. I just rather not be around if he's here, if that's okay. And Triple H is like, all right, well, I got to bring him to SmackDown next week. We'll run an injury angle for you. Something like that. Who knows? But the fact that Owens, it's just coincidental. Maybe it's just a big coincidence, but I don't think it is. I think that there's a reason why Owens was purposely left off the show last week since Punk is going to be there. That's my belief. So we'll see, you know, if any more of these stories come out. I'm not sure what the issue with Punk and Sami Zayn is either. I did hear there was a little bit of heat there. That just might have been residual shit from Kevin Owens as well. I don't know if Punk did anything specifically to Sami, you know, from the Ring of Honor days either. I'm not sure. But Punk might have some fences to mend. I don't think he's on the greatest of terms with their champion either, Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins doesn't like him. There's a lot of people there who don't really care for CM Punk, but are going to have to work with him now and have to get along with him as well. And like I said, I believe this all week since the moment he came back, that Punk will be on his best behavior. I can't see him flipping out and losing his mind and storming out of this company. If anything, the talent is in the driver's seat here. The talent has CM Punk by the balls. Because I've said this last week, I talked a lot about this in the Raw review. CM Punk's legacy is on the line. His entire career, how he is going to be remembered, is all riding on this. A lot's riding on this. So the last thing Punk is going to be able to do is to be a raging prick, because that will spell nothing but doom and disaster for him if he does. If that entire locker room rejects him, and they kick him out like your body fighting off a virus, and they just reject him, boom, out the door. Bobby the Brain Heenan, night after Survivor Series 1993 style, boom, goodbye. Take your shit. Everything's on the line here. Punk, if this whole thing goes sideways and his entire run in WWE implodes and something bad happens and it ends abruptly like it did in AEW or it did for him in WWE back in 2014, he will be forever remembered as a guy that just couldn't keep it together. Couldn't get along with anybody. Uncooperative, douche, bridge burning, fucking maniac that thinks he's better than everybody else. Flushing a career away that could have been great. This guy has been afforded the luxury of having talent fans cheer for him years after he's been invisible from pro wrestling. Gone 8 years, people still chant his name every show. I can't think of anybody that carried that type of buzz with them for so long and sustained it for so long. He should feel lucky that he has that, because that's the only reason he's back in WWE right now. The fact that his name will be chanted in arenas around the world. That, along with the buzz and the headlines and the traffic that his name brings, especially digitally. A lot of people always say a needle mover in the ratings. Well, TV ratings aren't really the primary metric anymore. They're important, but not like it used to be. Now there's a lot of other things that are very important as well. And a lot of it is the, internet generated buzz that CM Punk does create and that he does generate. So I feel like Punk is valuable in that, and Punk has a chance here to end his career the right way and go into the WWE Hall of Fame, but it all hinges on how he behaves, how he acts, and how he's accepted by his now new coworkers in WWE. Many of them have now put many years more in that company than he ever did, because he's been gone for 10. Some of them were there with him when he was there and never left. Now they've been there 15, 20 years where he's just coming back. He can't walk in there and tell them what's what, or they're going to say, go fuck off. And like I said, I think there's at least 20 wrestlers in that locker room that could beat the shit out of him in a physical fight. So I am not too concerned with Punk doing any damage in WWE because his career is on the line. He's the one that has everything to lose. WWE doesn't have shit to lose. None of the other talent on the roster have anything to lose either. Punk is the one with everything to lose. He messes this up. What's next? Impact? You're gonna finish your career in Impact? Go crawling back to Tony Khan and try to patch things up there? It's like, go here, burn your bridge. Go there, burn your bridge. Repair the bridge, get back there, burn it down a second time. Then go back again. Like, you can't just keep doing this. You can't keep doing this. So this is it. It's make or break. It's sink or swim for CM Punk. This is his final run. And he's got to make it a success. So I feel like Punk, behavior-wise, is going to be a saint behind the scenes. He might just be putting on an act. He might be completely feeling a different way in his head, but I don't think he's going to really display outwardly any frustration, because if he does, that could adversely affect how his legacy is remembered. And I think that's something we have to remember as fans. Maybe Punk's legacy doesn't matter to him, but I kind of think that it does. And if I was a wrestler, I sure as shit would care about how I'm remembered decades after I am out of the ring and after I die. I don't want to be remembered as being an asshole. I don't want to be remembered. I want to be remembered for being a legend. So that is up to CM Punk. One of the ways he can become a legend is to main event to WrestleMania. There is talk that apparently CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin could be on the table for WrestleMania. Now, we talked about this all the way back on Monday night during the Raw review. I even think we talked about it on Saturday night, a week ago, the night that Punk returned. Somebody brought up Austin and Punk in the chat, and I'm like, holy shit, it's technically possible. I never thought it would be possible, but it technically could be, and that would be wild. Apparently, WWE is aware of this too, and have been talking about it internally. Here's what Fightful Select had to say this week about a potential Stone Cold Steve Austin and CM Punk match. Fightful Select has learned that upon CM Punk's return to WWE, there were several in the company pushing for the possibility of Punk to take on Stone Cold Steve Austin. So much so that we're told that Punk had even had discussions about the possibility himself. As of now, we're told many in WWE are hopeful and even optimistic that the match could finally be put together. One source in the company had indicated that many ideas have already been floated between CM Punk and WWE. We have not heard how far along in talks, planning, or pitches that this is, but that if all went well, the ideal scenario would see Punk flying to Austin to go over ideas. So going to his house, I guess. One source also indicated that while that is the ideal scenario, there's a lot to get through first. Those close to Austin say that they've never heard him mention any personal issues that the two would need to get over, and actually indicated that they drop messages to each other a couple of times a year or so. So like I said, it's all up to Austin. Basically, the Fightful Select report here just confirms what we kind of speculated on over the weekend, that now that Punk is back in WWE, and since Steve Austin had a match in the company in 2022, just last year, you should at least talk about this. I mean, when you think about dream matches, like real big mega dream matches, like how many really are left, this is one that I always thought was off the table. So if there's a chance that it can be back on the table, I think that would be great. But again, it's going to be up to Austin. WWE, CM Punk, and the fans can talk about this shit all we want. there's one man that can make it happen, and that's Stone Cold Steve Austin. He will be the yay or nay on this. And I don't know where Austin's head's at. I don't know if I know he enjoyed his match with Kevin Owens. It was an awesome way to close out night one that year. But I also feel like, what's the motive? What would be the benefit to Austin? Would he insist on winning type of thing? I kind of think he might need to win too. I'm not sure. Would Punk care? If I'm in Punk's shoes, like I was, if I was in Kevin Owens' shoes last year, I would be an honor to eat a stunner and be pinned by Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I would not care about losing. Maybe Steve Austin does. Maybe it would have to be, hey, I'm going to win type of thing if I'm going to do this. I think CM Punk is capable of having a good match with Austin, just like Owens was. So I think the match would be passable. Austin worked hard leading up to that. I know Drew Gulak and Vince and everybody was flying down to his house to get him ready. And he was, having matches and training and all of that, getting ready for this. If he did it again, him and CM Punk, maybe closing out night one of WrestleMania, finally giving CM Punk that WrestleMania main event that he's always wanted, but he'll be losing this match and it won't even be for a championship. So maybe that's a way to make it a little bit easier on the talent who might be, a little bit jealous that Punk's now come in and take this WrestleMania payday away from someone else. So there's a lot to think about there, but at the end of the day, it's just going to be up to Steve Austin. It's going to be all up to him. So we will see. And if that's the case, if they're going to go with Austin and Punk, and they know this by the beginning of the year, that's why I think Rollins and Punk just needs to be for the Royal Rumble. I feel like you can't just do Rollins and Punk in one match. I feel like that's a minimum of a 2-match type of thing, probably 3, but I still don't think Rollins and Punk should carry their feud into WrestleMania. I think Punk should have a different opponent, and so should Rollins for WrestleMania, unless, of course, they do the scenario where CM Punk costs Rollins the title in a cash-in situation in their match, and then you get a blow-off Hell in the Cell at Mania, similar to how Balor and Edge had one this year at WrestleMania 39. So we will see what the plans for Punk are, but that's the cool thing about this, is that it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out going into WrestleMania season, and Punk being thrown into the mix makes Mania season more exciting because it's just an extra factor, extra person to think about. We've already got some pretty big mega matches kind of being the groundwork being laid for right now. And with Punk not totally sure what he's going to be doing, and plus the Rumble coming up, man, there's so much to think about as it relates to Punk in the WWE and heading into WrestleMania season. Let's just hope that Punk stays healthy through all of this. That's a big thing. Keeping on the subject of Punk, damn near going to be going on a full hour of Punk discussion here. It was revealed this week that Bryan Danielson was apparently on the disciplinary committee that decided and made the decision to terminate CM Punk from AEW. This was made apparent because I forgot what day this was, but I guess it was on Wednesday. All this, I think, started happening on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot what day. But Bryan Danielson tweeted out a specific tweet that I did not save. It had something about, you might not make the most money. It's just about doing what's right, referenced his dad, some sort of life lesson about doing what's right is basically what the tweet said. That tweet perked the ears of some people in wrestling media who were already informed of a story, an unconfirmed story, about Danielson being on that disciplinary committee and even having a meeting with talent where he said the same thing verbatim. So when they see that quote pop up on social media from Danielson, they start searching to confirm the story. They do. And that's where we started hearing about Danielson being on the committee, and then that he spoke to talent after the fact, talking about Punk's termination and all of that. So that story comes out. It starts sending everybody into a flurry because now all of a sudden Bryan Danielson can't wrestle and oh, and talent shouldn't be involved in these decisions. Johnny Fuckbag 8959, janitor at 7-Eleven, and corporate expert feels that Bryan Danielson shouldn't be involved in these decisions. Guy with a Twitter handle, wrestling veteran. Danielson shouldn't be involved in these decisions. Oh, really, wrestling veteran? I would like you to name one single wrestling territory or wrestling company where there has not been an in-ring talent involved in backstage roles. I'll wait. I'm singing the Jeopardy song in case you're wondering. Okay, so that's ridiculous. That's a flimsy argument based on tribalism. That's all that is. So that story comes out, and then Danielson does an interview with Maggie and Perloff. And Danielson was, I guess it's a YouTube show or live stream show or something. And I saw the clip of it. And they flat out ask Danielson right there on Punk's departure. And there was a story coming out from Fightful Select, mentioned Fightful Select by name, that said that you were a part of the disciplinary committee that made the decision to terminate CM Punk. And Danielson was open. He was honest. He was transparent. He confirmed the story. He said, yes, I was a part of it, but people act like I was heading it up or I made the decision by myself. He joked about how he doesn't even have a college degree. And there was several other people on the committee as well who were all lawyers. He was just a part of it. And ultimately, this decision was made to terminate CM Punk. He talked highly of CM Punk, appreciated what Punk brought to AEW while he was there, acknowledged the fact that they were friends. And this was probably pretty difficult for Danielson because CM Punk's time in AEW was so tumultuous, but him and Danielson were always cool. You know, Punk stuck up for Danielson right before he left WWE, that one press conference where he said, I think it's Danielson's time, you know, but this was before WWE even decided to put him on the trajectory towards the title at WrestleMania 30, you know, and then when Punk came back to AEW, he kind of spoiled Danielson's return, right? Didn't he do that too? So the two of them were always kind of cool, but Danielson has been taking bigger roles in AEW behind the scenes, which I don't think is bad. Danielson is one of the most respected human beings inside and outside of the ring. He is universally beloved by all of his peers, by all of his fans. So if a fan has all of a sudden got his panties in a bunch over this, it's just their tribalism coming out that they can't hide. Because nobody, show me wrestlers, show me actual peers of Danielson who say these things. Oh, he shouldn't be allowed to make these decisions. I want to hear it from them, not Johnny Fuckbag 89. Okay. So I think that's just silly. But the fact that Danielson confirmed the story and said that, yeah, I was a part of the committee, it's the way it was, I thought was really cool and straightforward of him. And a lot of people were like, why is this story just coming out now? I'm like, why can you not read? Why is it so hard? The reason the story is coming out now is because of Danielson's tweet. And many members of wrestling media had heard this story, but it wasn't confirmed, so they never reported it. Once they saw the tweet, they started digging to get some confirmation about this so they could report it, which they did, which Danielson confirmed. I don't understand where this hate for the wrestling media comes from. It's insane. It's out of control on social media. People are just going fucking nuts. Our friend Sean Ross Sapp wrestled for charity today at an indie event, raised $6,000 for a nice charity that benefits teens and young people with mental health. Just a wonderful charity, you know, and all you see, he shouldn't be in the ring and he's ruining wrestling and this is what's wrong with wrestling. It's an indie show. 18 people were in the fucking crowd. Just chill, bro. If you're mad at somebody for wrestling a match for charity, that just means that you're a frustrated and jealous piece of shit, mad at everybody else for doing something with their lives when you're doing nothing. That's what it all comes down to. It's simple man behavior. It's insecure man-child behavior, tearing others down for succeeding where you are failing. It's as clear as day. And that's all this was about. With Sean, with Danielson, it's usually just the tribalism route, that the tribalism thing that kind of brings out these opinions when really at the end of the day, there's literally never been, ever been a wrestling territory, especially territories. Those are the big ones. But then when the territories went away and we went into having pro wrestling companies, there's never been a territory or a company that has not had in-ring performers, some involved in backstage roles. And it's not like Danielson is 28. Danielson is in the final year. He's said so. He probably has less than one calendar year left in his career. He has a big future in the company, in wrestling in general, if he chooses to stay in there. He could have, I mentioned Chris Jericho too, as somebody that, could maybe eventually in AEW take a similar role to Triple H. Danielson could be that guy too. Danielson would be a great person to have backstage, WWE. All of their agents and producers, a lot of them are former talent. Look at Triple H. I cannot believe people can have a Triple H profile pic on their Twitter page in the same breath as saying someone in the ring shouldn't have a backstage job. When Triple H was champion in the company with a lot of backstage influence. Remember the Reign of Terror? Remember how mad everybody got? This isn't what Danielson is doing. He's not behind the scenes using his power for any sort of personal elevation or gain. He's at the end of his career, the twilight of his career. He has a lot of knowledge and ability to pass on, somebody who could be useful in a backstage environment as a leader, as somebody who could be a part of talent relations or disciplinary committees or whatever. He'd be a great person to do that. I think anybody in the wrestling business who's worked with Danielson before would agree with that. So that's what I'm saying. Show me the wrestlers. Show me the people in the wrestling business besides bitter pricks who don't do shit like Vince Russo and anybody else who just yaks and yaks because they're jealous and they suck. Show me real, actual people in the business. People who've worked with Danielson, who know him, know how he is. Show me them saying he shouldn't be doing this. And then I will listen. I will not listen to Johnny Fuckbag because that's all he is a fuckbag. So I think the criticisms are stupid. I think they're silly, and it's all derived from tribalism. That's it. I have no issue with Danielson being on that committee. I would trust, if anybody could be trusted to make an impartial decision, I think it would be the Dragon. Don't forget, it's not like he's got heat with CM Punk. This is his friend. This is somebody that he has respect for, that he was on a committee, he was presented with evidence, and he had to make the right decision. The only decision was to terminate CM Punk from AEW. Apparently, there is video footage. We know there is. Footage was reviewed. There were lawyers present. This wasn't Tony Khan being a pussy and being scared and firing him like you guys want to think it is. This was a decision that was made by multiple parties, including lawyers and legal people that all agreed this was the decision that had to be made. They brought in a wrestler who they respected, whose opinion they respected. For his 2 cents, collectively, they ultimately made the most difficult decision in the company's history. Danielson was a part of that. I don't see the harm in that at all. Take Danielson out. If the Danielson thing bothers your little tribal heart, fine. Take Danielson out, stick him in there with whoever. Michael McDonald's. Just put him in there. Same decision would be made. Does not matter. Any lawyers, legal experts, impartial people of any capacity sitting on that committee, reviewing the evidence, looking at the tape, seeing what happened, would all come to the same conclusion. You don't even really have to pick a side in this. I'm not. I am equally, that's what's crazy about this whole situation. I am equal parts completely in favor and supportive of AEW's decision to terminate CM Punk. I feel like that was the only thing that could have been done. But I'm also equally fascinated that this dude has returned to WWE, and I intend on fucking enjoying that. So it's crazy. Both can be possible. CM Punk's run in AEW was a complete fucking disaster. It's over now. He's in WWE. Let's see if these same problems repeat themselves in WWE, but I'm of the belief that they will not. I just don't think that locker room environment is one where he is going to be able to be the CM Punk that he was in AEW. I just don't see that being the case there. I think too many fucking people would choke him the fuck out if he pulled any of that shit. I just don't think it's going to happen for him there, and I think he's going to behave. But in AEW, he had to go. He had to go. Sounded like he wanted to go. This might have all been a big ploy by him. He might have seen that opportunity, Jack Perry looking into that camera, and he goes, that's my ticket out of here. I'm going to punch this little prick in the face as soon as he walks back here and get my ass fired and go right back to New York. WWE. Who knows? But I don't have any issue with Danielson being on the committee. I don't think anybody who has an issue with him is speaking out of any sort of, impartial perspective. It's just their hate boner for AEW that's doing all the talking here. That's it. And to those people, I would just like to say, what would you do? What do you do? for a living. And if you were in Tony Khan's position, what would you do behind the scenes? Because let's not act like WWE's got the winning formula for people behaving backstage. There have been plenty of years where we have heard for year upon year upon year where the backstage environment is fucking miserable. During the Johnny Ace days and all of the fucking writers, CM Punk on Colt Cabana's podcast 10 years ago basically said the same thing. It's a fucking shit show. It sucks. It sucks coming to work. You walk in the door and you see all these shitty corporate fucking faces. They make you want to puke. It's not fun to do this. Every day is a goddamn hassle. It's a pain in the ass. It's a chore to get through the day-to-day interactions with the shitty corporate bosses that you have running around up your ass all the time. It's just miserable. So let's not act. Things are pretty good morale-wise in WWE right now, but let's not act like they've always had it together. Ever heard of something called Wrestler's Court? That was stupid. I'm glad. I think Wrestler's Court is dumb. I mean, some of the stories were pretty entertaining, but the fact that, talent had to take themselves that seriously kind of to, bring someone to trial and all of this, yeah, maybe it would keep people in line, but it was silly. It wasn't needed, and it made you scared shitless that somebody might take you to Wrestler's Court for something you didn't even do. It was more of a hazing thing than anything else. And there's been plenty of years in WWE where it has not been a pleasant experience backstage, except for the catering, which apparently has always been pretty good. So right now things are good in WWE because business is high. Things are good, but that could easily change. But I still think as much as WWE has never been perfect behind the scenes, they're doing pretty good right now, especially with Vince out of there. And the talent is probably as comfortable as they have been in many, many years. So it's just not the time for CM Punk to be coming in there and screwing everything up. I just don't think the talent is going to allow that to happen. I don't feel like they're going to allow that virus to spread. I think he's going to be contained, and I think he's going to be on his best behavior. So he had to be let go from AEW. It is what it is. Danielson was a part of it. If it bothers you, get over yourself. It's what had to be done. And now CM Punk is in WWE, and shit, who knows what he's going to do there? The sky's the limit. Let's stay on the subject of AEW. Kind of. We were just talking about them a minute ago and some of their behind-the-scenes stuff. We talked about the Danielson involvement in the CM Punk termination. MJF is doing a lot of stuff too. Now, we're going to talk about what he did on Dynamite this week because we're getting more clues with the devil reveal and who the masked henchman might be. But prior to Dynamite on Wednesday, MJF, Twitter might have been the day before, he tweeted out this, and I quote, "I didn't sleep a wink, in a shit ton of pain and can't get comfortable. But it's Wednesday. We got a show to put on. I hear it all. I read it all. I see it all. I'm wide awake in more ways than one. Let's restore the feeling. Hashtag AEW Dynamite." So it was on Wednesday prior to the show. MJF, of course, suffered a torn labrum. He's still going to be working Joe at the pay-per-view, but he's a banged up champion right now. There was a Twitter response. I didn't write down the Twitter handle. Something about a chair shot. Twitter response underneath this that said, "You have almost single-handedly destroyed the feeling." Okay, so that's just some intense hate coming from some ass bag on Twitter. That's pretty common. If you have a following, you're always going to have an asshole down there, right? But what was interesting is who liked the tweet. The tweet was liked by 3 AEW wrestlers, Jungle Boy, Sammy Guevara, and Britt Baker. All liked this tweet. So fans were like, what's that all about? I personally believe that MJF is doing a great job as champion. I've been invested in what he's doing. I've been interested in his storylines, even though they've been suffering all these little derailments with Adam Cole getting hurt and them trying to pick things back up. And now they've kind of got this relationship with MJF and Samoa Joe that's kind of a placeholder for MJF and Cole, and it's working out really well. MJF's matches have been phenomenal. That Full Gear match he had with Jay White was great. He's had great title defenses and matches all year, and he turned heel to babyface in the middle of his title run, something that hasn't been done very many times throughout history in any promotion. It's only been done like less than half a dozen times, I think, where a world champion has turned from face to heel or heel to face in the middle of their run. It goes back to Randy Savage in '88, when he won at WrestleMania 4 and defended as a heel at WrestleMania 5. And CM Punk did this as well. So I've enjoyed everything MJF has done. So if there's some sort of like backstage heat on him, I wonder why. Like, I wonder if it's maybe an attitude thing, I mean, because he's young, so he might be entering that, cocky stage of his life where he's starting to, really get full of himself, maybe a big head. Maybe some of that's going on behind the scenes and it's frustrating talent. I don't know. Juicy speculation is all. Or they are leaving you a digital breadcrumb of clues as to who the devil and the masked assailants are. Not really sure. But I don't think that if this talent is legitimately disgruntled, that they would have any issue with the work Max has been doing as champion in the ring or on the mic. I think all that stuff's been good. I don't think Max's title run and his run the past year has been a failure at all. I think this is his proving ground here. I also think he's quietly re-signed with AEW. I believe that as well. I think Tony Khan has locked him up for another 3 to 5 years already. That's done. There's no bidding war of 2024. They might be in storyline, but I think MJF he's going to be there for the long haul. But I also feel like he could drop the title to Joe at World's End, making him not champion as we go into 2024, maybe kicking back up those rumors again. I also think that's possible, but I wouldn't think that if any sort of heat on MJF exists behind the scenes, that it would have anything to do with what he's doing on camera. I would feel like if Britt and Jungle Boy and Sammy have an issue with him, maybe it's personally, and they're taking these frustrations out in the form of liked tweets. Now, I'm hoping oh, and by the way, I should let you know about Britt Baker's tweet as well. Shortly after that, after Dynamite, Britt Baker tweeted out, and I don't have it word for word here, but basically it was comparing her promo time in minutes, which was 0 for the year on Dynamite, according to her, to Christian and MJF's promo time on TV. MJF got 8 minutes and Christian got 10. How many did Britt Baker get? 0. So now she's starting to tweet out frustration. Is this legitimate frustration with her boss, Tony Khan, and how she's being used? I thought maybe Britt was on the shelf a little bit just to be, since Adam Cole was home and maybe she's with him. They haven't really used Britt in a while. It's kind of been the Tony Storm show. And I don't even know what Britt has really been doing or up to lately. So I don't know if she's frustrated about this. I always thought her and Tony Khan had a good relationship. I kind of thought she was one of those OGs, her and Sammy. I feel like all those people have a really big piece of Tony Khan's heart type of thing. So maybe since she hasn't been on TV and it's been more in support of Adam Cole, they're using this as a reason for her to be frustrated in kayfabe. And when you see Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, Britt Baker with these liked tweets and with these tweets, you have to wonder if it's not really personal issues, but this is all just kayfabe storyline clues as to who the devil is and who all of the masked assailants are. Now, Jungle Boy has already been suspected right from the start to either be the devil himself or be a masked man. The devil laugh, a lot of people felt that was Jungle Boy's laugh. So they're not, maybe being subtle about that. I listened to the laugh. I still can't hear him in it, but everybody else can. So I think it's my ears that are broke. Britt Baker would make sense. If Adam Cole is going to be the one to turn out to be the devil, then Britt Baker would definitely make sense as to be a part of this and have some frustrations or issues with MJF. Sammy Guevara is an interesting one. Makes me wonder if Jungle Boy and Britt are working, but then Sammy saw their likes and then it's like, yeah, fuck that guy. And he decided to like it too. And he's not smartened up to the work. That would be pretty funny. But I do like that if Sammy was a part of this, the fact that he's kind of off the radar and maybe he could be a surprise because technically he's in the Callis family. By the way, congratulations to Sammy and Ty Mello, who welcomed their, I believe, baby girl Luna, right, to the world just a few days ago. So Ty has had her baby and Sammy could be heading back. He's on paternity leave for however long that's going to be. But he is in the Callis family right now. So if he turned out to be a double agent and he was with the masked men and then Callis was like, what the fuck, bro? He's like, sorry, man, I'm a part of this now. And he just kind of defects without an announcement. And him taking the mask off might be a little more shocking if you're not expecting him. So those were interesting. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if this is actual beef, or if it's storyline. Because if it's storyline, then it would make sense for them to leave this trail. Because if you go back to Max's tweet on Wednesday prior to the show, he says, I hear it all. I read it all. I see it all. And then you get that response to that tweet that's liked by those three people. So maybe there's some sort of a segment in the ring on Dynamite in a couple weeks. We're going to talk about Dynamite in a minute, how there's actually a tag match against these masked people next week. And so maybe MJF does a segment in the ring where he's like, I've been trying to figure out who all these masked men are and masked assailants and who's behind these attacks. And I'm starting to piece it together. And then he shows footage of Wardlow coming out with Bedhead on Wednesday. He came out right after the masked men were in the ring. His hair was all messed up like he had just taken off a mask. And then he can put tweets up on the screen. Look at this one. Look at these likes. And then he can start piecing all together. So maybe this is all on purpose this is like an evidence trail. I don't know. Or maybe MJF has got actual beef with people behind the scenes. Don't know. You guys have any information on this? Anybody got Max on speed dial? Give him a call. Ask him what's up. And let us know about that. So we will find out if that is all legit and there are even more internal issues and problems and turmoil in AEW, or if this is just a digital trail to guilt. We will find out. AEW is off to a good start selling those all-in tickets. All-in tickets went on sale early on December 1st, where they opened up, I think, about 43,000 seats. Sold 34,000 seats on the first day for nearly half of last year's entire gate. So very good start here for Wembley next year. My one advice to Tony Khan is you got to do better with the booking of All In next year, because this year, I feel like it was more of just the novelty being at Wembley. They were selling it on that. Let's put all these people in the stadium. They didn't even announce matches for this thing until like 2 weeks. And Jimmy Valley, our friend Jimmy Valley on Twitter, said something similar about this the other day. Yesterday, I think he said this, where, don't book this show like it's a spot on your tour, just a stop along the way. Book it big matches with stakes. You want to bring as many people into this building as possible. So if you can sell a bunch of tickets at first, great. But if you start building these matches early summer, if you start doing that and laying groundwork around April or May, if you can do it that early, you got pay-per-views in between, but get these issues going as quickly as possible to where you either have matches or blow-off matches at Wembley instead of just throwing a card to us in 2 weeks. That's what you want to do, because that should bring in even more. And then maybe you can start talking about replicating last year's number. I don't think they're gonna. I said that right from the start, but at least you can have a respectable audience there who are there to see specific matches, not just ones you threw together in 2 weeks. I thought All In was a great show, but I thought it could have been better if it would have been booked more long-term, and you need to have some big matches with major stakes. Remember last year when I was like fantasy booking Jade Cargill versus Jamie Hayter, champion versus champion at All In? This was back when both were champions. Jamie Hayter was kicking ass. I don't think she had lost much. If she was defeated, she hadn't been defeated many times. Jade Cargill was undefeated, and you just build those two in like a Warrior and Hogan WrestleMania 6 match for All In. I thought it would have been fantastic, but we never even came close to that. Fucking Paige won the title at All In. So all I'm saying is next year, book this show like it's a real big major card, big matches as big as you can fucking come up with. I think Will Ospreay is very likely going to be in the main event next year. I think Danielson's going to work with Nigel McGuinness, but you still need some matches that are going to, maybe get that extra 10,000 butts in that building. You got to do that. But so far, so good. Excellent opening day for All In. And by the time we get to All In next year, next August, that number is going to easily double. So should be fun next year. Speaking of fun futures for wrestling companies, WWE apparently is pretty close to landing their new TV rights deal for Monday Night Raw. Now, Triple H missed this past week's Monday Night Raw. He was not there. Bruce fucking Pritchard was running the show. So I think that's interesting that Triple H wasn't even there for CM Punk's big first promo. And he apparently was out here in LA with Nick Khan to negotiate some more TV rights deals. Now, there were some early rumors of Warner Brothers Discovery being involved. That was shot down by Meltzer, who said, I guess WWE did make a pitch, but it may have been turned down. Plus, there have been a lot of people who are of the belief that Warner Brothers Discovery has a controlling interest or ownership stake in AEW. And every time Tony Khan is asked about a new TV deal or the future of AEW programming, he does not seem worried. He definitely feels like there's no problems there. We haven't seen a new deal come for AEW yet, but that might come right after W. These might come back to back. I kind of hope they do, just to get this done, just to know where all these wrestling companies are going to be on for the next 5 years would be helpful as a fan, so we can put this out of our mind. So these two deals will probably happen pretty close together, but I don't think Tony Khan has ever been worried. I haven't. I've never had any concern, no matter how much the fans and the tribal dipshits scream online, the sky is falling for AEW. It is not. They are not going anywhere. If anything, they're going to expand. You know, they're not going to lose their TV deal to TBS. They're not going to get canceled as much as you want them to. They're not gonna. They're going to get a new deal. It's going to be re-signed. And eventually, their shit will find a streaming platform home. That will happen. I wish it had already happened by now, of course. I'm sure negotiations can be very stressful, but it will happen. It absolutely will happen. So if you're holding out hope that AEW is going to die and not get a new deal and just go away, you're going to not be happy with what you see. So WWE, though, are the ones that feel like they're close to landing a new one. Now, still no real front runner other than, I believe, what is it? Amazon is in the running. Netflix is in the running. Even USA Network is still in the running. If it was up to me, they would just be on the USA Network. I'm sorry. Why did I think Smackdown was going to CW? Smackdown's going to USA. It's NXT that's going to CW. I had that all goofed up earlier. So Smackdown's already coming to USA. Smackdown and Raw used to once run on USA, but it probably does make more sense now to get more money for Raw to go elsewhere. Wherever that is, I hope we learn that really, really soon. And I am worried if WWE does leave the USA Network on Mondays that Raw might even leave Mondays at some point. So we might be in our final year of Monday Night Raw as we know it. And that's pretty freaky. So hopefully before WrestleMania or early in 2024, or maybe even if we're lucky, near the end of this year, we get some sort of an announcement on WWE's new TV deal for Monday Night Raw. And hopefully we'll get something for AEW and the future of Dynamite and Collision as well. WWE also, unfortunately, had some more releases this week. Mackenzie Mitchell was let go. I believe she's the wife of Vic Joseph, so that's a shame. Apparently she was pretty well liked. And according to Brandon Thurston, who tweeted this yesterday, WWE has laid off more corporate employees today, according to multiple people at the company. This follows layoffs of more than 100 employees back in September following the TKO merger. So hopefully this was the last death rattle, of the employees they're going to lay off. Not sure why Mackenzie was let go. She was just a behind the scenes person. So what specifically would go into releasing one person? These days, it seems like when people are released, they're in chunks. When you release one person, it usually either means they did something wrong or they asked for the release. And according to Mackenzie's Twitter post, it didn't appear like she saw this coming. So not sure what the deal is there. We wish her the best. She seems like she was really well liked. Speaking of comings and goings, QT Marshall is departing AEW. And apparently, he was getting a little bit of getting frustrated as well with how things were going behind the scenes and the direction of the company. Now, he released a statement on social media. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it was a very respectful appreciation for Tony Khan and AEW and his time there, while also acknowledging that the company's moving in a different direction, so he feels like he should do the same. And Fightful Select had a follow-up on this week as well, and I quote, Fightful spoke with MLW sources that immediately indicated interest in Marshall, saying that they were surprised he was hitting the open market. We're told that Major League Wrestling is planning to communicate with QT and wants him to work both in and out of the ring. Marshall has also had several people pushing for him within WWE for a variety of roles, which is to be expected. He's also very close friends with Cody Rhodes, and I never really liked much of what he did in AEW. I hated his alliance with Powerhouse Hobbs. I thought that did nothing but hurt Hobbs. QT has never been super entertaining on camera, but we have heard lots of great things about him from behind the scenes and how valuable he can be in a role like that. And if he wants to do more, he's got Cody in WWE. I think if you're going to leave AEW, this is just my gut feeling. If you're leaving AEW, a stable job where you have roles, you're in the second biggest company in the world, the only reason you leave the second biggest wrestling company is to go to the first biggest wrestling company. That's my view on it. So maybe QT feels like he could get to WWE if he leaves AEW, and Cody could maybe help get him in there, or some of his other contacts in the company. QT is well liked. He is. Apparently, the only person who doesn't like him is CM Punk. I think QT was one of the people that CM Punk banned from Collision. Is that right? So apparently Punk didn't really like QT. So maybe Punk being signed to WWE, I don't know. Again, this is all speculation, but you got to wonder about the political games being played behind the scenes with talent. And if Punk is coming in, maybe Cody is like, you know what? I'm going to get QT a job. I'm going to get QT a job here. Just as a message to Punk that he's not in charge. And who knows? I mean, that's what I would do if I'm in Cody's shoes and Punk is now coming in the door and I know how he's treated some of my friends. I'm going to bring one of those friends in. Stick him right in his face. Yeah, try acting that way to him now. And that's the thing. QT, he's not going to want to be a dick on his first day in the company either. But, shit, if I was QT, I would almost want to go up to Punk and say, you can't touch me now, motherfucker. So we'll see. It's interesting. It's juicy. I say put them all in the house and film it like the real world. I think they've already done that. It's called Total Divas. Anyway, that whole situation's interesting. Best of luck to QT, even though I didn't really love QT, anything he really did on TV. He's respected. He has, a good reputation in the business. Apparently, he's got a lot to offer behind the scenes, and I like that. So best of luck to QT, whether he now bounces over to WWE, maybe takes a coaching job in NXT, or maybe a behind-the-scenes agent role or something like that in WWE on the main roster, working with Cody again. We'll see. All the best to QT, Marshall, wrapping up business with AEW at the end of the year. Finally, our last piece of news tonight, before we get into some Dynamite stuff, is going to be our friend Tammy Sitch. After we talk about this, I'll catch up on the super chats. By the way, if you guys could do me a favor and keep smashing the thumbs up button for me, that would be super helpful. I want to apologize. I don't know if you're watching. I want to apologize to Michael Witt. He apparently has been blocked on the channel. He's a channel member. I found his channel. I don't even see the option to unblock him. Like, he hasn't been blocked. So my only thought is that maybe a moderator did it or silenced him too many times or something. So if you see Mike Witt turn back up, don't remove any of his stuff. I'm still working on that, Mike. I don't even know what to tell you on this. I went to your channel. Usually when this happens, because it happens sometimes, they'll say, hey, I'm blocked. So I'm like, okay, cool. Give me your link. I go to their channel. I see that they've been blocked. I didn't do it, but somehow they got blocked and I just unblock them. Your channel does not give me the option to unblock you. So it doesn't say that you're blocked. So I don't know why you can't comment. I have no idea. Michael, I'm sorry. We'll figure it out, my man. I promise. But let's talk now about Tamara Sitch. Tammy Sitch, sentenced this Monday, finally, for the DUI crash that took the life of that elderly gentleman. And she's had decades now of terrible behavior, of arrests, of multiple DUIs, endangering lives, and eventually she took a life. And we've been kind of staring down this sentencing date for a while. It's been drug out for over a year now, trying to work out plea deals and whatnot. It looked like no matter what, Tammy was not walking away from this. She would do jail time, absolutely. I think the maximum she was looking at here was about 26 years. And I think most fans were hoping and expecting her to get the maximum sentence. Now, this was all broadcast live. You could watch the live feed on YouTube. And, she had a prepared statement. She blamed Chris Candido for these problems, even though she had problems way before he died. Way before he died. She was already batshit fucking nuts and a disgusting drug-addicted mess way before Chris passed away. She would have headed down this road with or without Chris being dead. Because if Chris was alive, he would have long since left her and been living a happy life somewhere else, and she'd still be acting like a piece of shit. So she tries to blame the big crocodile tears and whatever. They wind up sentencing her to a grand total of about 17 years. It's a little bit under 17. She's going to be serving 10.6 years for driving with a suspended license causing death and 7 years for DUI manslaughter to be served right after that. So about 17 years total in prison, followed by 8 full years of probation. So unfortunately, that is not the maximum sentence. We were hoping for 26. However, 17 years is nothing to sneeze at. She is 50 years old, I believe. So she's going to be close to 70 years old when she gets out. Now, I had put on Twitter that hopefully there will not be some early release bullshit with her and she'll only serve 10 or less than that. Somebody pointed out that Florida state law requires that you at least serve 85% of your sentence. So even if she is released early, it won't be that much early. So either way, she's going to be 65 plus when she gets out at the very earliest, which is still somewhat comforting because by then, I mean, look at her. She's already just physically grotesque and just broken down. If you add 17 more years to this, 17 more years of prison, plus she's going to be 67, old. Her license is suspended, I think, for life. Doesn't mean she can't get behind the wheel, but it just means she's not going to be able to legally drive anymore. She'll be close to 70 when she gets out. Hopefully by then, she will be rehabilitated, and by the time she's 70, she won't really have that desire to immediately go right back to her addiction. And when she gets out, maybe she can live the last remaining years in some sort of peace, but she's going to be paying a heavy crime here. Now, the only thing about this is I don't know how it works with the time she's already been serving. Feels like she's already been in jail for a while, so I don't know if she's going to be given credit for this time or if the 17 years starts now. Not really sure how that works either, but again, we're talking a long time before Sonny gets out. When Sonny gets out, I will be 61 or 62, something like that. Probably still on YouTube. We'll be talking about Sonny's release date right here on the Winged Eagle podcast. Old Mic Work. We'll have renamed the channel by then. Old Mic Work. And really old Mic Work. And we'll talk about Tammy Sitch being released. But hopefully this gives the family of the victim some peace. It's so frustrating that, when you hear her taking the life of somebody else, knowing how many chances she was given, how the court should have thrown her under the jail years ago. And with each one of these survivals that she had in court just meant another possible day for her to ruin another life. And eventually she did. And now she's paying for it. But if they would have dealt with her properly the first 26 times, maybe that gentleman would still be alive today. But either way, enjoy your living accommodations, Tammy. I'm sure you're going to act like it's great in there and you're in charge and everybody respects you. Who cares? It's fucking prison. Even if you are king shit in prison, you are still in prison. You are eating shitty food. You're cold at night. You got nothing but honey buns and fucking canned soup to live off of. You wake up at 5:30 in the morning, bright lights in your fucking face. And yeah, you might sit there like you own the place in Gen Pop or in Lunch or whatever they do. You might be What's Her Face and Orange is the New Black. That's fine. You can brag about that all day long. Oh, and fans put money on my commissary. Good, I'm happy for you. You're still in fucking prison. So you got a big cabinet full of pouch tuna and honey buns. Yay, you're still in fucking prison. And she's exactly the type of person that probably would brag about how well she's doing in prison. Bitch, you in prison. It sucks there. It sucks there. And I hope it's uncomfortable. I hope it's cold. I hope everybody hates you. I hope nobody visits you. I hope you have the worst possible 17 years that a woman could ever receive in prison. I hope you get beat up. I hope you pay for your crimes. I do. And then when you get out, hopefully you will know that going back to that life really isn't an option at this age of your career. And maybe you can do something to make amends in your life. Maybe. That's a big if. Enjoy your stay at the Holiday Inn there, Tammy Sitch. Before we get into Dynamite, let me cruise over here, get any super chats out of the way that need to be done. Thanks again for everybody for hanging out with us on this lovely Saturday. I'm cruising back here to hit the ones I missed earlier. Got that one right on. Chris, we got Will Chisholm. That's an awesome name. Thanks for the 5, my friend. With all the teasing from Bayley and Mercedes Moné on social media, and with the storyline WWE's telling, it feels like she may come back. I kind of hope she does. Mercedes has also been hinting that AEW could be a place for her. But at this point, I kind of feel like it would be cooler if she just went back to WWE. I'm kind of agreeing with you there. And yeah, they're definitely not being subtle about this Bayley turn. Last night I was laughing. I even kind of tweeted a joke about it last night. I'm like, boy, I think WWE should maybe think about splitting up Damage Control. If only they would give us some hints, because people are pointing out that Bayley is clearly about to get kicked out. I'm like, yeah, any idiot with two eyes can see that. She is on her way out of this faction, and it's just a matter of what she does after that. Is she going to be helped up by the four horsewomen? Right now, Shotzi's in the middle of that, but hell, if Mercedes came back, she would be the perfect person to be the one to pick Bayley up, even without Charlotte and Becky, just Mercedes. I mean, I guess she'd be Sasha Banks. She wouldn't come into WWE as Mercedes, which begs an interesting question. I don't think Jon Moxley will ever go back to WWE. It feels like he hates them. But if they did, if they signed Jon Moxley and he came back to the WWE 5 years from now, would they really try to make him Dean Ambrose at that point? Or would he be like, no, I'm coming in as Jon Moxley? That would be a weird situation. Mercedes Moné, I feel like she would probably go back to Sasha Banks, but she has spent, probably a lot of her own money, in getting this promotion for her new name out there. And now just to go back to being Sasha before she really had a whole lot of time to establish Mercedes Moné because she was injured a lot. Well, it just depends on what's more important to Mercedes as a professional. I don't know what her goals are, what she wants to do. Does she want to have fun? If she does, WWE might be more fun. If she wants to accomplish things on her own outside of that umbrella, it might be more important to her personally to stay out of WWE for a little while longer, maybe sign with AEW for a year or something, or do a little stint there before going back. Don't know. But if she was a part of rescuing Bayley from Damage Control, from the rest of Damage Control, that would be pretty awesome, and there's four of them there with, Dakota Kai now being the leader with the mic a lot. She's a great little talker. If she can get healthy, man, the four of them versus the four horsewomen would be great. Super great. Chris Ludek, thanks for the 5 again from you. In my opinion, I think Punk leaving AEW was inevitable. Even if Jungle Boy didn't do that, I think he'd do something else to get fired. That's very true. I mean, if Jungle Boy didn't say that, 2 weeks later at a Collision taping, he might have done something else that led to that. It felt like it was a ticking time bomb. It really was. And there was a very short fuse there. And it wasn't going to take much for Punk to flip his lid, because during that entire time, from Brawl Out to when Punk came back on Collision, that entire time, nothing was rectified. I still can't believe that looking back. Because when you look back at all my podcasts back then, especially right after it happened, we were all just assuming that at some point, these parties are going to have to get together here and hash this out. You have to, because you got a business to run here. You got a wrestling company. You have shit to do. You're all professionals. You got to work this out. This can't be a problem. The company is bigger than you guys. So it was just kind of assumed that Tony Khan would have a handle on that. And as each month went by, we hear nothing. If anything, we're hearing the tensions are growing. Shots being taken on social media, and nobody wants to talk, and people are scheduling meetings and backing out. Punk's going to Raw in Chicago to try to make amends with Triple H, lay the groundwork for him coming back. And then the shit at All In happens. It felt like that trip to Raw in the summer is what really perked a lot of people's interest. Like, what's that about? Clearly transparent as hell what Punk was doing there, saying, I think I'm probably going to be back here, and I want to just gauge interest, test the water, dip my toes in. Would they have any interest in letting me swim in this pool again? And whatever happened there, he felt comfortable enough to jump on Jungle Boy's ass and get himself shit canned. So here we are. Wrestling world is crazy. Rarely Even's got 5 for us. Thank you, man. Welcome back. The best in the world versus the Tribal Chief. It writes itself, Greg. Built-in story with Heyman and real heat with Punk and Roman. It's easy. Well, yeah, of course. We just said that. That's why I kind of said that a title wouldn't be necessary. If a title was on the line, I wouldn't cry about it. But I feel like Punk and Roman, that story alone is all you need. And the Heyman thing and the personal history and all of that, the promos would be fun. Oh, man, they would be fun. They would be fun. Michael Cuomo, OG, welcome back, my friend. Thanks for the 5. I honestly thought Chris Candido was the reason why Tammy wasn't as bad as she is now. Yeah, Chris, she didn't deserve Chris Candido at all, man. Such a shame. Such a shame about what happened. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about AEW Dynamite and Smackdown before we get out of here. I got to wrap things up here in the next 30 minutes. Wednesday's Dynamite was fun. I actually liked it. Dynamite's been back to their normal numbers here, a little bit under 900,000. Apparently, they beat Smackdown in the ratings, which ran on FS1 that last week. And so they actually did higher ratings than Smackdown, but it was a different network. So they have that excuse, but everybody has excuses, right? So that was kind of interesting. And then Dynamite this week, I forgot what they did, 858, something like that. So they're kind of, just normal numbers there for Dynamite. But the show was really good. And we had the Continental Classic tournament resuming with some interesting matches. Now, we'll just talk about all of those up front. Moxley defeated Jay Lethal. I think Jay Lethal might just go winless in this whole thing. Moxley just defeated Jay Lethal. He's now got 6 points at the top of the leaderboard. Roosh defeated Mark Briscoe. I believe Roosh now has 3 points. Lethal and Briscoe both have 2. And Swerve Strickland in the main event defeated Jay White. That surprised me. Beat him with a roll-up, I believe. And Jay White now is, I think, 1-1. He's got 3 points. And Swerve and Moxley are both 2-0 with 6 points, leading the, I think that's the gold group there is what they are in. And that's pretty cool. That surprised me that Swerve won. It was kind of a quick finish. He countered a Blade Runner into a roll-up on Jay White, got the win. And I'm loving that because I feel like Swerve, and he's already put it out there, I feel like Swerve is going to be AEW World Champion. I believe that Swerve will be the first black AEW champion. He's on his way. I really want that for him. He's put it out there. I think he'd be a great choice. And it's not like he hasn't earned it. He has made it a point ever since he was signed by AEW to show WWE what they lost. They even tried to get him back. He said, no, fuck you. I'm going to show you what you gave up. And it feels like that's very important to him. And he's been working his ass off to make it happen. He's been getting over, real over. He beat Hangman 2 straight matches. I think everybody kind of thought that, oh, Hangman would win this one after the home invasion and all of that. As bloody and violent as that match was, I think a lot of people thought Hangman would survive that. And the fact that he didn't, and Swerve won again, and then here he's beating the man that was in the main event, getting a title shot against MJF at that same show. Jay White, who's considered a main eventer, one of the best in the biz, former world champion himself, and Swerve beats him. I mean, he is on this winning streak here. So I'm really hoping that, and again, I don't know how you get there. I don't know if Swerve's going to beat MJF or if Swerve's going to beat the champion after MJF. Like if Joe beats MJF for the title, then I don't know if it's going to be Swerve beating Joe. I don't know what's happening, but I feel like Swerve is either going to be champion after MJF or champion after that. He's going to be either the next champion or the next champion. And I believe he'll be the first black AEW world champion. That is a feather in his cap that he deserves. It would give AEW a great, young talent that they can have in their title history now. Somebody that they made world champion, somebody that made the best of his opportunities. Every match that he got, every promo that he got, every minute of TV time Swerve has had, he's made the best of. And somebody like that deserves to be world champion. And I hope he does it. I don't want to rush it, but I also think Swerve, he's ready and he's winning enough matches now to where he's really put in contention. And he's going to be having a match here with Jon Moxley pretty soon. And if he now beats Moxley, that match might even be next week. If Swerve beats Moxley, like, holy shit, he's going to be on a roll here. Now, what's interesting, though, is he's in the Continental Classic. So do we want him winning the Continental Classic? You might say, yeah, of course we do, Greg. You stupid. I don't know, though. If he wins the Continental Classic and then he becomes that new Triple Crown champion thing, don't you think that might actually take him on a different path, leading him away from the AEW world title? If he has that, I almost hope he doesn't win the Continental and maybe Hangman does something to cost him a match. Now, if you want to preserve these matches being competitive wrestling matches, you probably don't want a whole lot of outside interference in these things, a ton of them, but you could do a backstage attack or something like that to where Hangman beats up Swerve and Swerve can't compete, or better yet, beats him up to where Swerve is injured but goes out and competes anyway, and then maybe loses a hard-fought battle, or maybe even wins like MJF did at Full Gear, really pushing him to the moon. But I feel like you could use Hangman. You could use this tournament in 2 ways. You could use it as a way to elevate Swerve to the world title without actually having him win it, giving that to somebody else like Danielson, who I think is the favor for this thing right now. And if you tie Hangman into that, you know, maybe I don't know if you would do one more match with Hangman and Swerve. I don't think you need to after they cut each other's heads off a couple weeks ago, but that could lead to maybe one more blow off, or maybe Hangman gets the win there, but then Swerve turns right around and wins the title. Something like that. I feel, though, that Swerve winning the entire tournament might actually not be good. That's the only reason why I'm kind of apprehensive about him actually winning it. Maybe Hangman can, or somebody can play a role in him not winning or losing the final or something like that. And then eventually, somehow in early 2024, maybe even at Revolution, Swerve gets his title shot. I feel like that might be kind of early. I would even be fine continuing to build Swerve more all the way to Double or Nothing in May. I would have no problem with waiting until then to where Swerve is challenging for the championship against somebody and wins the title. I would really like to see Swerve win the AEW world title. He's been winning a lot of these matches. That's good to see. It feels like he's on the rise. Hopefully Tony Khan will not stutter or, you know, start and stop push type of thing with him like we saw with Wardlow and other people. Let him run all the way there. And I hope Swerve stays on Tony. Like, don't forget about me. Don't take me off the card. You got to keep me on TV if I want to achieve this goal. And I think Swerve is, he's been impressive. So hoping for the best for Swerve coming out of the Continental Classic. We also got an interesting announcement about Sting's final match. Now, Tony Schiavone is backstage with Sting and Ric Flair. And Tony Schiavone announces that Revolution will be on March 3rd, and it will be held at the Greensboro Coliseum. Now, that's a building I've been in many times. I used to live on the East Coast in North Carolina way back in the day, and I went to so many Raws and pay-per-views in that building. Unforgiven, 98, Survivor Series 2001. Hell, This Is Your Life might have even been there. I was at that one. So many great shows in the Greensboro Coliseum. Been there many times. All the history dating back from WCW and the NWA, and the big Flair and Sting match that took place there in 1988. And that's a really cool building and venue to announce. I think that's awesome. What's not awesome is that Ric Flair is still there, and Ric Flair has to be a part of this. Now, I respect Sting. I want to appreciate and have and enjoy Sting's retirement, but Flair is making things less fun. Sting just doesn't seem as fun with Ric Flair out there. And I think it's because people are just tired of Ric Flair. And apparently he said some fucked up shit on Rampage, something to the effect of, women between 18 and 28, meet me in the hotel room. No marriages, no boyfriends. Woo! Seriously? And a lot of people rush to his defense. Oh, you just do you, Nature Boy. Do what you got to do, Nature Boy. You're a legend. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. He even said that along with some fans. No, I don't care how great of a career you have. You cannot do whatever you want and whatever you want. It's not about Ric Flair portraying the character Ric Flair that we all knew throughout the years. It's not about that. It's about the fact that now things are coming to light about him, stuff that people already knew, but now he's finally facing some consequences for the years of sexual assault allegations and the countless stories coming out about him. That Plane Ride from Hell documentary, which did not paint him in a good light at all. WWE even distancing themselves from Ric Flair, no longer giving him a live mic out there. And he then goes out there and says something like this. And so all the wrestlers and the fans that are like rushing to his defense, this isn't one of those woke things that you think it is. This isn't a case of somebody being easily offended or being a snowflake or whatever. These are real life things. These are allegations that Ric Flair is almost just like laughing at. If you're portraying yourself as a murderer, but then you actually kill somebody, you don't want to be out there bragging about the murder. It's just weird. It's just not a good look. It's gross. It's disgusting, especially in today's day and age, mind you. But this is a 76-year-old man. How old is he? 74, 76, telling an 18-year-old to come to his hotel room? You think that's fine? I think that's fucking gross, and I think Ric Flair's an idiot, and it's a perfect example of why I hate this motherfucker. And I'm sick of him. He does nothing. I do not need him in my life. Maybe Sting does. And that's what I'm trying to respect. Because as much as Flair grosses me out in modern times, today in 2023, he was a fucking legend in the 80s, man, and the 90s, and I have a lot of great memories of Flair and his career. And if Sting wants to be him to be a part of this, great. But I think Flair, just at least if he's going to be on TV and saying shit on the mic, at least read the room, at least know you got a shitload of controversies attached to you. You are not as well liked and beloved as you used to be, and you need to be aware of your reputation. And maybe saying something like that isn't a good idea. Maybe saying something like that is going to come off gross and perverted and disgusting. And it did. And I think they edited it off of Rampage, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of people who were in the crowd said that he said that. And of course, he got a lot of backlash about that, to the point where he even tweeted in his weird all capital letter on the words tweets that he does, that I'm so tired of all the negativity. The negativity, people calling you out for your bullshit, you facing consequences for being a gross pervert, is negativity? It's just consequences, dude. That's it. You shouldn't have said that. People called you out for it. You know, people can be over the top. People can scream and yell sometimes for no reason. Some people do a poor job of articulating their point. So I'm sure Ric Flair is hearing a lot of frothing at the mouth, eye-crossed nut jobs coming at him. But normal people are just like, dude, that's fucking gross. You're fucking gross. You're literally asking a girl who is 60, count them, 60 years younger than you, to come to your hotel room naked. I don't see how you even defend that. You know, he's not really even being a character, because who Ric Flair is on TV is almost who he is in real life. This dude does not stop partying. He does not slow down. He has done nothing but flash his hammer to women and do whatever he can to get in the pants of every fucking woman he sees. And when you have been accused of sexual assault and sexual abuse by multiple women, it seems a little stupid to flaunt that on live television. I don't think I'm crazy for having that opinion. I don't think that's a controversial opinion. I don't think that's being too woke. I don't think it means you're a snowflake. I think it means you're a fucking adult, is all it means. And that was gross. And Ric Flair is bringing nothing to this for me as a fan. And if Sting wants him there, great. Sting, we love you. But all I'm saying is he's bringing this shit down. He's bringing this whole situation down that should be celebratory. We should be appreciating your career, celebrating your career. And instead, Ric Flair is just putting this black cloud over it. And Ric Flair tweeted out, even said to Tony Khan, if I'm embarrassing you and your company, I'll leave. I don't need the money. Oh, you don't? You charge everybody for everything. You seem like you always need the money. And he offered to walk away. Good. Walk. Run, in fact. I don't give a shit. The only person I'd feel bad about in this situation is Sting, if he really wants you there, but you've done such a terrible job of maintaining your reputation, nobody wants you around anymore. So you're bringing his shit down, and you are potentially damaging his retirement, which kind of sucks. I've really enjoyed everything AEW has done with Sting. I think he's one of the best guys. I think he's one of the best used wrestlers they've ever had in terms of how they've used him, how they've presented him. And this feels like it's damaging that. So Ric Flair, whatever. I loved the Tony Storm little stuff with RJ City. Take my shoes off, my feet are swollen. That was all very funny. And then MJF had his big promo. Great promo. Put over Samoa Joe like $1 million. Talked about how much respect he had of him, discovering him back in the TNA days. And that's when the lights went out. They started flickering, very Retribution style, and a bunch of masked figures then attacked MJF. Samoa Joe came out to make the save, ran everybody off, and then some words and some text came across the Tron that basically just issued a challenge to Joe and MJF in a tag team match next week against two of their members, which MJF immediately agrees, says, you're on. And Samoa Joe is like, come on, man. And even Joe in the promo was, I'm really liking the relationship with him and MJF. It's been a good placeholder. It's been a good replacement for what MJF and Adam Cole is doing. Now, I don't know if Samoa Joe and MJF are going to be able to go on the adventures, the out-of-ring adventures that Cole and MJF went on, but their relationship, their their respect for each other has been fun to watch. And even Joe, he says he understands where Max is coming from, wanting to take on everybody, wrestle injured. He respects and understands that, but at the same time, he wants him at 100% for World's End. So Joe was kind of out there as MJF's default protector because he wants him at his best for their pay-per-view match, but that's going to be a hard thing to do when everybody's after him and MJF is accepting every challenge thrown at him. So I really do like that dynamic between the two. And then right after that promo, we get a Wardlow and AR Fox match. And when Wardlow comes out to the ring, he's got bedhead. He's got messed up hair. And he comes out there, of course, absolutely destroys. AR Fox wins with a ref stoppage. And Wardlow is not making it, he's making it very clear. He's not being very subtle about him being one of the masked assailants for sure. And we'll see whenever they do the big reveal. I think they should do like a Brodus Clay level swerve with the Devil and the masked assailants, like right before the big reveal. You got MJF down, you got Samoa Joe down, you got all the masked assailants in the ring with the Devil in the middle, and then all at the same time, they pull their masks off and they start dancing to funk music. Oh, that would be so cool. Just getting it on. Fucking flashing lights, all that stuff. Oh my God, that would be the best. So we'll see when that happens, but Wardlow is definitely one of those people. We had Top Flight, Dante Martin's back, and Action Andretti, they defeated the Hardy Party. Not much to say about that match. Hardy's back on TV. In a recent episode of The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, his podcast, he did acknowledge that apparently him and Jeff are a little bit frustrated with their use in AEW, but I'm not too concerned about them. I love the Hardy Boys, love them, but in terms of where they are in their careers and stuff and all the chances Jeff has had, he should be lucky he's even on TV at all and even has a job, much less getting TV time or valuable TV time. So I just think that, if they want to have, maybe a little retirement run, that would be fine, but I'm not sure what else AEW can really do with the Hardys at this point, given where they are in their careers, Julia Hart successfully defended her TBS title, defeating Emi Sakura, hit her moonsault for the win in that one. And then my favorite segment on the whole show and of the whole week was the excellent segment between Christian and Adam Copeland. As I said in the beginning of the show, I feel like Adam Copeland is finally now getting his footing a little bit in AEW, kind of hitting his stride and being comfortable there. And I'm starting to care a lot about what he's doing. I knew Christian and Adam would do great work together, but it just felt like it took a little while for, Adam Copeland to really get in the AEW feel. And I feel like he's now getting there. And Christian's promo was magnificent. He comes out to the ring. He's got a bunch of security with him and he tries to play the nice guy here, and says that after Adam concertoed Nick Wayne and made him rethink everything. And he's asking him to come out to the ring and please, Adam, please come to the ring. And Adam comes out and he says, we're not going to make it to Montreal this Wednesday Dynamite, which is where their scheduled TNT title match is to take place. This Wednesday, it's going to be Adam Copeland versus Christian for the title. But Christian says, we're not going to make it to Montreal. I'm so glad that's in Montreal. That's going to be a hot crowd. He goes, we're not going to make it there because I want to team again. And he brings up the personal history between the two. And it was so great when he brought up Edge or Adam's, the fact that Adam had no father and a single mom. And when he said, we all know you didn't have a father, the gasps in the crowd, like, oh shit. And Edge, he never really knew his father from what we understand. And he had a single mom, Judy, the Judemeister. And he said that, you had a single mom, and Christian says that, my dad became your dad. When he disciplined me, he disciplined you the same way. And to this day, he's still your biggest fan. So he's trying to butter Adam Copeland up here with the mom and the dad stuff. And he told Adam, he says, I know that when your mom died, it was the hardest time in your life. And your mom told us both before she died that she wanted us to team just one more time. So I think we should do it. We should do it for Judy. We should do it for the Judemeister, which I love because I know Adam always called her the Judemeister. Rest in peace, Judemeister. You were a great mom. She was on a couple of Copeland DVDs, right? And an Edge documentary and all that. The Judemeister was an amazing mom. She worked hard to see that her son was taken care of, and she is a fucking legend. She should go into the WWE Hall of Fame if you ask me. So Christian brings up the Jude Meister, says they should do it for her. And he's then standing there waiting for Adam Copeland to make his decision, and he goes to hit Adam with the belt. Of course, Adam sees it coming. Dick kicks Christian right in the balls. Christian goes down, and Adam says, "Nice try, dumbass. I'll see you this Wednesday. And that title, you better shine it up because it's coming home with me." And as he's leaving, he stops, he turns around, he kneels down to Christian, who's now selling his nuts, and he's looking up with this horrible look on his face. And Adam goes, "Oh, yeah, I forgot one more thing. Go fuck yourself." Oh, that was just the uppercut knockout blow right there. Go fuck yourself. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call a receipt. So beautiful, so well done. Loved it. Maybe I'm biased because, Edge and Christian are two of my favorites ever. I've watched them ever since the beginning, and I knew that if they link up as partners or as foes, it's going to be money. And this was so good. And I don't know if they do a title change or not on Wednesday. I'm not really sure, but that "go fuck yourself" line was so perfect. Apparently, the editors missed it, and it made air on TNT. I think the majority of the country heard the F word live on TNT, or on TBS, excuse me. And of course, once something like that happens, that's a tribal trigger. Out they come from underneath their shitholes. "Oh, I don't know. There's going to be some ramifications here for AEW letting that slide. Warner Brothers Discovery's probably going to be mad at them for that. This is really going to hurt their chances of getting a new TV deal. This makes them look like amateurs." Every little stupid fucking thing they can concoct in their empty, brainless fucking heads, they said. It's not a big deal. The censors missed it. Might not even be an AEW problem. Might be a Warner Brothers problem. Who knows? It's fine. It's fine. Don't get so excited. Don't get a boner and think that AEW is going to go out of business now because of that. It's not a big deal. I think it's kind of fucking awesome. And I don't understand why so many people who hate wokeness and snowflakes are all of a sudden having a problem with the F word entering their ears. Oh no, the F word. Are you going to be okay? Are you going to be okay, Johnny Fuckbag 59? I hope so. Hope your ears can handle the F word on TBS. Acting like you give a shit. Give me a break. Tribal little cockroach bitches. Anyway, that was funny. I had no problem with "go fuck yourself" being made on TV because when they edit it and censor it, it doesn't sound right. There's that long pause and you just hear the crowd noise, and sometimes you don't hear anything, and it's never timed right. It would be one thing if they could time the bleep perfect, but you can't. It's live TV. So you rely on the 7-second delay or whatever, and then you're able to censor it before it hits the live feed. Mistake was made. F word came out. I think humanity will survive. We got a lot of problems right now in this world. I don't think the F word coming out on TBS is really a big deal. So let's calm down, okay? Calm down. Daddy's here. Daddy's here. Let's wrap things up with last night's Smackdown. Pretty fun show. We had the beginning of the end of Bayley in Damage Control. We have Bianca opening the show, bragging about the babyface's win at War Games, and Damage Control comes out, but without Bayley. Dakota Kai's the one doing the talking here. They get in the ring. Shotzi and Charlotte then come out as well. Big brawl ensues, and that sets up a Kairi Sane and Bianca Belair match for later on in the show. Now, backstage, Bayley tried to question why she wasn't out there, or why they didn't come get her, and Kairi kind of maybe Io kind of blew her off. We'll talk about it later. Kairi's got a match later with Bianca, and fuck off, whatever. Then we have Bobby Lashley defeating Peter Dunne, got the win over Butch with a big flipping spear that he does now. Pretty good. Problem still with Butch and Ridge Holland. So looks like they are either going to permanently break up or they're going to kind of battle each other, and Sheamus is going to come back and bring them back together. Maybe the Brawling Brutes are actually disbanding. I want Butch to become Pete Dunne again. I'm hoping he does. He's already back to wearing Pete Dunne gear and everything. So I don't know why we're just not calling him Pete Dunne. So I'm hoping whatever this is leads to some promo where Pete Dunne's like, "I was never Butch, I'm Peter Dunne," and you guys all know it. So hopefully that's coming soon. Santos Escobar defeated Joaquin Wilde, a little brawl with Dragon Lee after the match. Nothing too interesting coming out of that. And Logan Paul was back on TV, finally. Welcome back, champ. U.S. champion is here to announce that there is going to be an 8-man #1 contender tournament. Just another way to buy this guy time, not being on TV all the time, to determine the new contender for the U.S. title. Kevin Owens then comes out. We've had Kevin Owens and Logan Paul on our radar for quite some time. And maybe that could be a WrestleMania match, and that might be why Owens was injured on SmackDown as well. But Owens comes out and exchanges words with Logan Paul. Kind of cool to see the back and forth there. Grayson Waller and Austin Theory arrive. They get in the ring. Kevin Owens immediately punches out Theory. He falls like a ton of bricks, glass jaw bitch. And after that, we have a match with Kevin Owens against Grayson Waller. Now, Grayson Waller would lose. Owens beats him with a roll-up, but during the match, he injured his arm. And I couldn't see exactly where the injury took place, but the way they were kayfabing the shit out of it, though. They were showing it on the camera. They showed him walking in the backstage area going, ah. And the trainer's looking at him, and then WWE announced today that he's got a fractured something. Aerial scalarial ligament or whatever Gorilla Monsoon used to say. Something in his arm is fractured, but it feels like it's a work, and it's not legit at all. It's just a storyline reason to either, number one, keep him off TV next week when CM Punk comes back, or keep him out of this tournament to where he's not in it or not a factor in it, and they save Logan Paul and Kevin Owens for WrestleMania. So maybe somebody else wins the 8-man and Logan faces him, maybe at the Rumble or maybe on TV. I don't know where the number one contender is going to get their shot. And then you save Owens and Logan for another time. That's possible too. Not sure what they're doing there, but they are planting the seeds for a future showdown between Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. And I think that's awesome. After that, we had Bianca Belair defeating Kairi Sane. Now, before the match, Io Sky told Bayley, stay back here. We don't want you out there. So she does, but she turns up anyway in the match, trying to help Kairi Sane out. Kairi seems to approve that she's out there, but Bayley's presence kind of is a little bit of a distraction, allowing Bianca to hit the KOD on Kairi Sane for the win. And that is probably just more evidence that Damage Control is about to boot Bayley here. I'm ready for it. We'll see when it happens. Let's see how much longer they're going to wait. I think at this point, they could just do it any week. You could, if they did it next week on SmackDown, I don't even think it would be too early. They've planted enough seeds to let you know that that's coming soon. But I think you could also stretch it out a little further. Maybe do it like right around Christmas or something. Like on the Christmas SmackDown, you do that. You know, have a nice Christmas, Bayley, and they not only kick her out of the group, but they ruin her Christmas too. That could work. We'll see. And then in the final segment, it is the big decision of Randy Orton. Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce are both on the show. They had some backstage segments earlier on in the night where Pearce is here to try to get Orton to sign with Raw and prevent him from signing with SmackDown. They're both in the ring. They're kind of bitching at each other a little bit. I feel like we're going to get an Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis match at some point. I feel like that's inevitable. Wouldn't even be surprised, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but I wouldn't even be surprised if we get it at WrestleMania. Like with stakes on the line, like maybe something is on the line. Either a talent is on the line or one of their jobs is on the line, or, you know, if one of them wins, they become the general manager of the other brand and they swap, something like that. We could see Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce. I feel like that's almost inevitable. But they bring out Randy Orton. They both pitch Randy Orton title shots. Adam Pearce says, I'll give you the winner of Seth and whoever. And Aldis says he'll give him the bloodline. And Randy, of course, was taken out by the bloodline. So you feel like he might sign with SmackDown anyway, but that brings out Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman comes out, and Randy Orton is then attacked by Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. LA Knight runs out to help out Randy. He chases off and fights to the back with Solo Sikoa, leaving Jimmy Uso in the ring with Randy all alone. Randy takes over, takes control of Jimmy, hits him with his DDT from the second rope, and then hits him with an RKO, and then picks up the SmackDown and Raw contracts. He looks at them both, tosses the Raw contract outside the ring, signs the SmackDown contract, hands it back to Nick Aldis, and then hits Nick Aldis with an RKO. So Randy Orton is sticking on SmackDown. That makes sense. The bloodline is there, and Randy Orton, now being on SmackDown, would theoretically, you would think, put CM Punk on Raw permanently, but not before Punk comes to SmackDown next week and maybe teases involvement there. But I think ultimately Punk will show up on Raw. And speaking of Randy Orton, I think if Brock Lesnar were to ever have a retirement match, I think he should have a clean loss to Randy Orton. I think that should be Brock's final match. I don't think Brock will ever retire. I think he'll always come back for paydays. He's just too big and badass. But if he ever does have a final match, I think he should lose to Randy Orton. Forget that give it to a young guy crap. Gunther would have already long since beaten Brock by then. To fuck off with your Braun breakers. Think Taker and Shawn. Think Shawn Flair. Legend versus legend. Brock Lesnar, he owes Randy Orton one for the SummerSlam stuff and every other match. Randy's never beaten him. I think it would be great if Randy Orton beat Brock Lesnar in his final match. I think it would be cool. Collision tonight. Here's what we got. We have some Continental Classic matches going down. Claudio versus Brody Lee. That show has started, by the way. Garcia and Andrade, Danielson and Eddie Kingston, and Abaddon taking on Kiera Hogan in another match, and there might be another one. So Collision is already on the air, which means we got to get out of here. Let me knock out any more final super chats here, and then I got to roll. We have one from Rodrigo Martinez. Good to see you, my friend. Appreciate the $2. I don't like what Ric Flair say. Don't need him. Neither do I, Rodrigo. I agree with you. Whew. What a long podcast. I appreciate you guys being here this afternoon. Thank you so much. Do me a favor. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button already, please do. Channel is hurting for likes, but we're doing all right otherwise. Things are pretty good, all things considered. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. Don't forget, we will be back here tomorrow night to watch WWE Survivor Series 2003. Link is already up on my channel waiting for you, so go save that for later. Be here tomorrow, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. 24 hours from right now, we will be going live for Survivor Series 2003. I think it's going to be pretty fun. Thank you so much for listening today. I'll post the audio version of this podcast up on the website and the podcast sites later on tonight. It will just be a few hours, and look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for the watch along. Have a great rest of your Saturday. See you soon. Peace.